To begin our proceedings this morning, Secretary General, I have the honour to ask you to begin with the opening statement of welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen Clark, Administrator of UNDP, for moderating this very important meeting. And I'd like to thank the presidents of Africa, affected African countries, President of Guinea, President of Liberia, and President of Sierra Leone. And I'd like to also thank President Mugabe, who is participating in his capacity as President of African Union. And I'd like to also thank Dr. Margaret Chan, the Director General of the United WHO, for her leadership. And thank you for all ministers and dignitaries who have taken such a very valuable time to be with us, to be with the people of Africa, particularly affected by Ebola. I think we can overcome this one, and I think we are now overcoming it, but we have to go until the end, until we see the last patient cured, and there will be no further cases. And I'd like to also thank the World Bank President and IMF for Managing Director and many international regional development banks, including African Development and Islamic Development Bank and European Union. And it's a great honor to have you. Thank you for accepting my invitation to participate and to show your solidarity for the people affected by these Ebola viruses. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, merci de participer à cette conférence.
Thank you for taking part in this conference on Ebola recovery. The task awaiting us is immense. We have to give concrete form to our promises of solidarity, turned towards action. And I would like to have you join me in giving lasting support to the peoples of the countries affected by Ebola.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thanking the many donors who have come together, along with the government, civil society organizations, national and international responders, development banks and foundations, as part of a broad-based global coalition to support the nationally led response efforts. I applaud the African Union and its plan to convene an international conference on Africa's fight against Ebola later this month in Malabo. I commend the African Union for galvanizing African leaders, businesses, and communities in solidarity with the affected countries. This regional unity has been essential to bringing the outbreak under control and will be critical to effective recovery. I commend the more than 800 African volunteers who deployed through the AU Ebola support mechanism. I also thank the countries that answered my call to send in logistical support, medical teams, crisis managers, and aid for safe and dignified burials. Thousands of women and men from within and outside their countries put their lives on the line to slow the advance of this disease. Thanks to these partners and to many others to name, we have come a long way in containing the outbreak. The General Assembly took decisive action, endorsing the UN mission for Ebola emergency response, UNMEER. I thank His Excellency Sam Kutesa, President of the General Assembly, for his continued leadership in keeping the membership seized with this issue. As UNMEER prepares to close next month, the UN will maintain the dedicated high-level leadership under WHO, together with the UN country teams, in its support to help the affected countries get to zero. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the strategy to end the outbreak is working, but the final stretch of the response remains particularly challenging. Cases in Guinea and Sierra Leone have been reduced considerably. The response is being fine-tuned to focus on increasing engagement, awareness, and contact tracing in the remaining affected communities. New cases in Liberia show the need for continued vigilance given the regional risk. The Liberian government's proactive actions also underscores how the response strategy has effectively reinforced national capacities and knowledge to be activated for future outbreaks. But the impacts of the Ebola crisis have been far-reaching, and much work is needed to support the countries. The outbreak has eroded progress on peace and development. It has disrupted health and social services. Many major economic sectors have been affected: agriculture, mining, trade, tourism, transport, fisheries, and livestock. The functioning of schools, hospitals, and other public infrastructure has suffered. All of these disruptions have had a negative impact on the economies of all three countries, which were, prior to the Ebola outbreak, on a positive growth trajectory. This negative impact on economies, livelihoods, and more importantly, lives, demands that the global community continues to prioritize recovery from Ebola, even long after the crisis subsides. This will be essential to stay at zero in order to strengthening resilience to withstand future shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, your continued generosity will help the affected countries carry out their plans for recovery over the next 2 years. Our shared goal is to build back stronger, safer, and more resilient capacities for prevention and response. That means access to health services everywhere, not just in capitals. It means health services equipped to not only respond to extraordinary outbreaks like Ebola, but to address malaria, cholera, and other common ailments. Investing in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia will yield global dividends in preventing local outbreaks from becoming national emergencies and regional pandemics. That is why today is about more than speeches and pledges. It is a chance to forge a partnership for a better future, a future that is full of opportunity and free of Ebola. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our task is also to learn from our shortcomings and translate the lessons learned from this crisis in building back better. To do anything less would compound the tragedy. I particularly welcome WHO's lessons learned process and its plans for reform. Just this week, WHO welcomed the report from the Independent Ebola Interim Assessment Panel. WHO has indicated that it is already moving forward to implement a number of the panel's recommendations. In addition, I have appointed a high-level panel on the global response to health crises headed by His Excellency President Kikwete of the United Republic of Tanzania. The panel is now working on the pressing questions of how to strengthen national and international systems to prevent and manage a future health crisis. I look forward to its recommendations. More broadly, we have to learn from the Ebola outbreak. Responding to the crisis phase is not enough. With any outbreak, we have to do more than end the caseload. We must lay the foundation for true health security by going the extra distance, as we pledge today, to create strong health systems that can prevent any recurrence and withstand any future outbreak. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Presidents Conde, Koroma, and Johnson Sirleaf have shown admirable statesmanship. Thanks to your support, we can largely be proud of what we have achieved in responding to this unprecedented crisis. Yet we cannot breathe a sign of relief. Instead, let us collectively take a deep breath and resolve to finish the job. I call on you to be part of this historic push to end the Ebola outbreak in West Africa and support the leaders and people of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone in returning to a path of sustainable development. Together, let us jumpstart a robust recovery over the next 2 years and usher in a better future for generations to come. Thank you for your support and leadership. Thank you very much.